So we're now joined by Kunal Nadkarni. He's the Group Oil and Gas Segment Manager, Group Protective Marketing for Hempel. Good morning, Kunal. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing, Darwin?
Doing good, thank you. Well, Kunal, we wanted to know your thoughts on a few things about the FPSO sector. Particularly, how would you assess the current state of the FPSO sector?
Well, Darwin, as you know, in oil and gas, offshore is one of the major driving factors today in the oil and gas, and FPSO segment within the offshore is the fastest growing segment in the oil and gas today. So the way I see FPSO segment moving forward is that, I mean, it's got potential, it's got a lot of growth going forward. The key challenges that I see in the FPSO segment or the FPSO ship is actually the deployment of FPSO as well as the production of oil and gas. And on the deployment side and the production of oil and gas, we're seeing that all the companies, right from the oil majors to subcontractors to oil field equipment manufacturers, the OEMs, they all are working towards one main agenda, which is how do we produce the oil and gas in a much more effective way, in a much productive way, in a more cost competitive way, if possible. So they're always pushing the technological boundaries. We're always seeing some technical innovations in FPSO, and it's a very dynamic industry within the oil and gas, so to say.
So you talked about innovations a while ago. What interesting technologies or innovations do you see in particular in the FPSO field?
So what I'd like to say is, I mean, there are a few innovations that we're seeing in the design phase of the FPSO, as well as some of the capabilities of an FPSO to produce oil and gas. So as you know, Darwin, the traditional FPSOs that we have been seeing for the past 20 odd years have always been a ship-shaped vessel, which is mainly an old oil tanker that's been converted into an FPSO. They put some topsides on it, and there are some processing units on it. We have seen recently, in the recent years, there have been some technological changes and advancements on the design side of it. For example, Seven Marine, they are the first ones to actually build a cylindrical FPSO instead of a ship shape, which is a completely different way of thinking and developing and producing oil and gas in the FPSO. We've also seen the first floating LNG from Shell, Perdido, where they are actually having the first FLNG coming up, which is a massive investment and a massive structure by itself. If I'm not incorrect, which it's probably about 4 to 5 soccer fields long. So just the magnitude of the whole, the technical, and obviously with the floating LNG comes technical concerns as well as processing units. How do they fit there? The other new technologies that I see within the FPSO is the FPDSO, dynamic producer, which is basically the first FPSO with drilling capabilities, which actually will drill for oil and gas, and then it will go into production. So these are some of the new innovations or technical innovations that I see within the FPSO segment. Obviously, as we move forward, there'll be more innovations, again, driving into trying to see how we can actually maximize the production output and minimize the cost returns for the owners.
These are really interesting innovations that we see lately. A very good observation from your part. In your opinion, how would this impact the overall industry in general?
I mean, I think it's yet to be seen. For example, the Seven Marine, it's already in operation. It's doing well. It's an FPSO producing oil and gas, storing, offloading, processing. FLNG, it's a new venture with a floating liquefying natural gas processing capability on a ship. Yet to be seen how it will develop, how productive would it be, how cost effective would it be, and would that be something that would be taken forward within the industry and others actually going after that. It's yet to be seen. The FPDSO, again, this is my personal opinion, with the drilling unit, I'm not 100% sure how effective it would be in terms of having a drilling unit which is basically uses for a few months, it drills, and then you're really not using the drilling unit for the rest of 20 years of where you're actually producing the oil and gas and storing it. So again, all of these different innovations have pluses and minuses. It's up to once they get deployed in the field and probably stay there for about 10 years, would we know how effective they have been, and how much more oil production would they go forward with it.
Now, I get the impression that you're a keen observer of the developments within Asia or outside Asia. What would you think are the important lessons that could be drawn from the international FPSO industry that can be applied in Asia?
Asia, in my opinion, is the fastest growing oil and gas segment within the world. It's, you talk about China, you talk about Korea, you talk about Singapore, India. They are moving forward, with more and more technological advancements within the FPSO as well. There was a recent survey that I read, which I think was conducted by the Oil and Gas IQ. And they had selected a few top owners, operators, shipyards, and some contractors. And the main theme of that was to understand what are the risks associated with FPSO industry. From a list of about 9 or 10 different risks that were associated or identified, two main risks that were identified were subcontract management, and the other one that they identified was I'm sorry?
Managing expectations.
Actually, yes, managing expectations and actually understanding the specifications of FPSO fields well. So if you look at the top two major risks that, and again, this is not something that's coming out of Asia, right? It's across the globe, and you've been talking with FPSO owners and operators who are actually in the field. Both of these, in my opinion, are very closely related with Asia. With subcontractor management, as you know, most of the subcontractors and contractors are based in Asia, be it Singapore, be it China, be it Korea. So really managing contractors, subcontractors, and the whole value chain is a big risk that I see, which is associated with Asia. And it's a challenge how that would be overcome. On the other side, when you're talking about understanding the accurate specifications of the field, again, it's related back to Asia, where you have Singapore and Korea as the main hubs of shipbuilding yards, which actually work with the owners to define the specifications and get onto the specifications. So just to answer your question, Asia, in my opinion, I mean, it's one of the growing segments, the most growing segments within oil and gas, and the risks that were that came out of the study were pretty much apt to Asia. So it will be one of the most crucial segments or the regions in the world that will actually define how the way the industry moves forward within FPSO.
Now, looking ahead, how will the FPSO sector evolve in the next couple of years, in your opinion?
The growth that has been set for the FPSO is tremendous. I mean, it's growing continuously today, and I see no signs of it to decline for whatever reason. So it will be keeping on growing. The way I see FPSO from the deployment side of it is we will be majorly seeing deployments of FPSOs in areas such as West Africa and Brazil. Petrobras being leading with almost about 40 to 45% of the total FPSO deployments across the globe. The way I see is that within the FPSO, or if you may expand the nature to other floating units, I think FLNG would probably be something that will steal the limelight within all the other floating production. And the reason for that is that we're seeing more and more countries across the globe understanding what their natural gas resources are, trying to expand on their natural gas resources, and FLNG with liquefying natural gas will probably, in my opinion, be one of the standing points within the floating units across the globe moving forward.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Kunal Nadkarni. He's the Group Oil and Gas Segment Manager, Group Protective Marketing for Hempel. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Darwin. Thanks for having me.